I want to give a big shout out. So we've been Tasty Nation. Everybody on the team has been working very hard to create. Hold on, I'm gonna go the other way to create these YouTube videos, and they're really good. I want to give a big shout out to our buddy Chris, and this was a really cool piece that he did, and he had a guest interview, and her name was Helene Meisler, and it was a very fascinating interview. I'm not gonna put words in this mouth, but if you in anybody's mouth, but I would suggest going to look at it.
I definitely. So Liz and I both watched this. I found it very interesting. She uses the call put ratio from the Cboe, and Liz pulled it up. So she's just, to find this, you just went to Cboe.com.
Yes. Yes, Cboe.com, and literally it's in U.S. options market volume summary. I was looking around a little bit for it, and what I like about it is here. So this one is total, and this is index options. So it gives you the amount of calls and the amount of puts that were traded, the total, and then the PE ratio. Or I'm sorry, not the PE, the PC ratio.
The put call ratio. So she uses this deciding how she wants to trade or what her market sentiment is, and it's a good video to watch. It's not very long, it's not that long, but it's pretty cool to see how she uses this call put ratio or put call ratio to give her idea of market sentiment or which way she thinks the market might be going.
So take a look at this. I find it fascinating. No, I'm not going to look at I'm going to go back and look at her ratio a little bit more, but take a look at this. So the totals in the beginning at the 9 o'clock hour, the calls were over puts, right? So you've got a million. Or is that 100,000? I can't tell with the numbers.
Million.
A million, and only 840,000. So at the 9 o'clock hour, it was calls over puts total. But take a look at the index options. If you take a look at the index options at the same time, it's puts over calls. You've got 526 versus 510, which is pretty interesting.
It is, and I think I'll have to go back and see how she used this info and what she was looking for, and she was looking for some extreme compared to what she's been seeing before. She would say like, yeah, I'm going to get back in bullish in the market. She was waiting for some extreme.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fascinating. And take a look at this. Equity options, this was very heavy calls over puts. So if you're taking a look index versus equity, and the totals were above it, so you've got, it's kind of a tale of two cities, because the index options are puts over calls, and the equity options were calls over puts.
It's funny because so when would you think that, and I don't know if this is all just retail, if this is institutions and retail, if it's I'm
gonna bet it's everything that's just traded on the Cboe.
Because I would say with equity options, like for me, I actually bought a handful of calls today. This morning I thought, oh, market's up. What if we start to have a big rally? And I was going through individual equities and buying like next week's calls, going a little bit in the money on next week's calls, not giving up too much extrinsic value, but getting some more long exposure, thinking, oh, what if this market's going to turn around? Okay. And so I'm part of that 497.
I was laughing. I was laughing as I was looking at that. Now let's just talk about that. So SPOOs are green. I mean, barely, but they're green. Okay, taking a look. I'm just going to go to something we don't have. Let's say like Amazon. I don't know what you bought today, but if you wanted to take a look at something like Amazon and you were going to buy next week's, which is 7 days out, you're just going to be buying something. I'm going to bet you gave up a couple $100 and would buy something like that.
Yeah, and mine were smaller fries. I'll show you some of mine that I bought. And some positions where I had stock that has rallied and I got rid of the stock and bought calls instead, just in case the rally continues. So go to Nokia, NOK. If you go to Nokia and take a look at the chart, it's had quite a rally. So I sold out all my Nokia stock and then bought next week's 7-day in the money calls, the 7.5.
7.5. I can tell which one, because you don't mind giving up 4 cents for it.
Yeah, right. Giving up a little, but keeping my long position going in case the run continues. But if it falls back, hey, I've locked in my profits on the stock. American Eagle, I bought some weekly calls in because that has been beaten down. It's something that I watch, and if you look at the chart in American Eagle,
I bet you bought that one. Yeah, that's been down a little bit.
Look at the fall it's had. So I thought, you know what? I like being long American Eagle. I'm going to buy some in the money calls just for next week to see in case it has a bounce next week. It's just a cheap way. It's a cheap way to play that.
It is a cheap way to play that, but you know what you did? I'm just gonna we will do this quite a bit. Is just change stock positions, but it's similar to the Ratchet. So you were long Nokia. But I'm just gonna kind of break this down, and we didn't talk about this beforehand. So if it's a product you're long, you had actually the stock instead of a zebra. So if you had a zebra, you could continue to ratchet it, but you decided to take risk off the table, and then the only thing you have at risk is that long call.
Right. And I made sure what I spent on these calls was a lot less than what I made on the stock. Like if I made $1,000 on the run on the stock, I'm not spending $1,000 on these calls. Made sure what I was paying on the calls, what I was risking on those weekly calls was way less than what I made on the stock. So that if Nokia keeps running up, great, I'll participate. But if it falls back down, I'll lose some of what I made on that stock run.
Very similar to the Ratchet, and that's what options allow you to do. You're actually going back and forth using stock and options, very similar to what the Ratchet does.
Now, the bad part about that is I'm selling the stock quickly and I'm paying short-term gains on that stock instead of holding it for a long time and paying long-term gains. But I just thought in this market, I do want to take some risk off the table. Now, I could have done it differently. Instead of buying that call, honestly, I could have bought that put to protect my stock. But I don't want to get in that game of like throwing away money every month trying to protect that stock.
Well, it's the same thing.
But I thought I'm going to leave this on for a week, see what next week brings, and then I'll reevaluate what I want to do in Nokia.
And you felt more comfortable buying the call. Then, to your point, you could, if you kept the stock, buying this is exactly the same thing as buying in the money call. If you have the stock, synthetically, if you own the stock and buy this put, it's synthetically the same thing as if you were long this option.
And I think like whatever happens next week, I might get back in with monthly puts or something like that. I'll see what I want to do. But when something's having a rally, I did this in NEO this week. So NEO was in the news. NEO was in the news, had a rally. And if you look at the chart, I see that little jump. So the day that I had that jump, I just did it with the weekly calls. I went out and bought weekly calls in NEO, thinking
you did it after the jump.
Yeah, like that day it was in the news, like NEO's up X%, bought weekly calls, gave up very little, and thought, okay, if this keeps running, I'm going to participate on the continued run. And it's a cheap way to do it. So I'm part of those call buyers. So I know, the call put ratio tells some kind of story, but you don't know what the purpose is and why everyone's doing it.
And in an ironic turn of events, you're being a smart call buyer versus, and I'm not saying that there's dumb call buyers, but you're thinking about it from a trader's perspective by going in the money. So a lot of people might say, oh, if it's going to continue its run, I'm going to buy, I'm going to spend $40 and buy 10 of these. And that is not what Jen is doing is not. You're almost replicating stock because of the extrinsic value. You're paying a little bit more to only control 100 shares versus that long shot that I'm going to spend $40 on a chance that in a week Nokia's at 9.
And this is NEO now, but it has.
Oh yeah, NEO.
Look at the chart, and I get it. Like there are people who don't want to spend a lot of money, and they just want to spend a little bit of money, and sure that's more of that you're risking very little and you're playing for a big move, but you'd need a really big move just to get up to that 6.5 level.
You would need it. That's just it. It looks enticing on paper. So when you on paper, on a resume, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit in Market Movers today, this is very enticing to the youngsters, right? Where you're placing a $40 bet. I'm even just going to, you're placing a $40 bet with unlimited profit potential. Because that's what it says. If you go here and it doesn't say your profit potential, but if I go on
max profit, you've got the infinity sign.
Max profit infinity. So this is what kids like to see is max profit infinity.
And they're hoping for a big payout. And again, it depends on your account size. Because if those calls if the at-the-money calls, you're giving up a dime and they're only $40, for people who have, bigger accounts, that's nothing when you think, oh, I'll buy 10 of these for $400, take my chances. If NEO's going to keep running up, no big deal. But our younger kids don't want to just throw $400 away on a chance that NEO is going to keep running up. So they might be more likely to buy.
Right. So if they were going to spend $40, this is what we're trying to change. We're trying to generationally change the mindset. If you're going to spend $40, you can buy one of these, which is the smarter move, versus buying 10 of these.